Good morning, everyone. What an amazing week this past week was. What a powerful week. Of course, it all began with last Sunday when we started our discussion of oneness, a very powerful, very expansive topic. And then on Wednesday, we had a world peace meditation, very connective time, very compassionate time, very powerful meditation. Thank you, Kat, for facilitating that. You know, we look at the world and we hear what's going on in the world around us, and we think, what can you do? You know, what can I do? What little old me? What can one person do? The most powerful thing you can do is to go within and connect with that one power and presence. Because when you maintain that awareness of your oneness with the one power, God the Good, and you stay in that peaceful, prayerful, meditative place, you bring peace and harmony and balance to your own life, to your heart and mind. And you accelerate your own spiritual awakening and thus create harmonious experiences and relationships around you, which then radiates peace out into the world. You're like a stone, a stone that's lobbed in this ocean of life. And what you do ripples out from you. And we know that peace in our world can only begin with the peace that passes understanding, and that's only found within us. So Wednesday we had the World Peace Meditation. Then on Thursday we participated in the Unity World Day of Prayer with Unity centers all around the world. We prayed for ourselves, for our loved ones, and for our world. We had two different times that we met, one at noon and then one at 7 o'clock. But prayer and oneness go hand in hand. Because prayer, affirmative prayer, as we teach here at Unity, is founded upon the truth of one power and presence, God the Good. And being in this state, prayer gives us a solid awareness of the one power, God the Good. Prayer is courting the infinite, as Michael Beckwith would say, because it's an intimate communion with God, the lover of your soul, speaking in that language, that personal, intimate language of the heart. So that's how powerful meditation and prayer are to your life and to our world. Our theme for this month is the oneness of life. And our affirmation is, I behold a connection of light and love with God, myself, and all people. And just like we did last week, I'd like to do kind of a echo type affirmation here with you. If you feel comfortable and you want to close your eyes and just take a deep breath. And I'm going to speak a little bit of it and then you repeat it after me. Just take a deep breath and repeat, I behold a connection of light and love with God, myself, and all people. And again, take another deep breath and just repeat, I behold a connection. I behold a connection. And repeat this, of light and love with God, myself, and all people. And again, take a deep breath. Repeat, I behold a connection of light and love with God, myself, and all people. And one more deep breath. We're going to say it together. Take a deep breath with me. I behold a connection of light and love with God, myself, and all people. And you can open your eyes and come back to the room. Last week, I shared with you about the first principle of unity, which is there is one presence and one power active as the universe and as my life, God the good. And I shared with you that this principle, this truth, isn't unique to unity, that it's found in many of the world's religions and philosophies that also proclaim that there's one essence, one energy, one unified field, if you want to talk like that, one power in the universe. And last week I also shared with you that many of us held, whether consciously or unconsciously, or maybe were taught or told, whether directly or indirectly, that rather than one power, that there were two powers. Remember that? And this past week, someone asked me, what are these two powers that you were talking about? And which I realized that's actually a good question. Because last week we were really talking about the personification of these powers, God, the good, and then evil, however that was represented to you, the devil or Lucifer or Satan or whatever. It's actually an ancient belief that's been passed on by our ancestors throughout the centuries. But when you think about it, believing in two powers is believing or giving power to anything other than God or anything outside of God. For example, fear. Giving power to fear. Believing in fear is a baseless belief. There is only one power and presence, and in God there is no fear. Wherever I am, God is. I'm not afraid. So I'm not afraid of what a human being can do to me. I'm not afraid of what a physical, material thing can do to me because I am in God and God is in me. Wherever God is, fear can't exist. Is there anything greater than God's power of protection? No. Is there any power greater than God's power of care and compassion and unconditional love? No. Is there any power greater than God's power of unfailing support? No. So believing in fear or giving power to fear is a baseless belief. How about hate? Or any form of hate. Believing in hate or giving power to hate or anger or frustration is a baseless belief because God is unconditional love. Can hate be a part of unconditional love? No. How about doubt? Would you think that God, being all knowledge, all wisdom, could contain doubt? No, not at all. There's absolutely no power in doubt. If you're connected with the one power and presence, totally connected, totally devoted, what was it? Hopelessly devoted to the one power, there's only faith. So believing in anything, believing in two powers is believing or giving power to anything other than or outside of God. God and pain, God and lack, or God and illness, or God and poverty. Or how about God and me? Here's God, everywhere present, the one who's got my back, I get that. But here's me, somehow out here all by myself, on my own, trying to make things happen, figure it out, make the best life decisions. You ever felt like that? Like there's some kind of separation, like kind of out of the flow of life or out of sync with the universe? Well, here's the thing about that. Actually, two things. First of all, God is omnipresent. I know that's a strange word, but it means everywhere present. Not only everywhere present, but all of God is always everywhere present. Whew. There is no spot where God is not. That means that you're never alone. You are never separate from the one power and presence. There is nothing you have ever done or could ever do that could separate you from the unified field, God the good. But it goes deeper than that. One power, right? One creator of all, yes? One source and creator of all things. So what does that say about you? It says that your essence is God. It says that you are made of what God is, because there's nothing else you could be made of. The second basic principle of unity says this very thing. It says we are each individual, eternal expressions of God. Our essential nature is divine and therefore inherently good. I want to personalize this principle for us. It says, I am an individual, eternal expression of God. You want to say that with me? I am an individual, eternal expression of God. My essential nature is divine. You want to say that with me? My essential nature is divine. Here we go. I am inherently good. You want to say that with me? I am inherently good. And this truth, this principle, is not unique to unity. It's found in many of the world's philosophies and religions. From the Hebrew Torah, the book of Genesis, we read, so God created the human beings in the divine image, creating them in the image of God. From the Bhagavad Gita, we read, God dwells in all hearts. And from the apocryphal book, The Wisdom of Solomon, for God created man to be immortal and made him to be an image of his own eternity. From the Upanishads, we read, the one God is hidden in all living things. From the Native American tradition, the Sioux chief Lame Deer said, all animals have power because the Great Spirit dwells in all of them. Jesus himself said, the kingdom of God is within you. And Muhammad, the prophet of Islam, said, he to whom you pray is nearer than the neck of your camel. Don't you love that? Oneness with God is your natural state. You are made of what God is. Now, some of you might be thinking, I'm just not feeling it. And I want to speak to you as directly as I can because I love all of you. That if you've been placing your faith in fear, it's really hard to feel that you're made of what God is. And if you've been giving your attention to anger and frustration, any kind of division or separation, it's really hard to see and to hear the message of being one with God. If you've been devoted to things like pain or illness or poverty or lack or limitation of any kind, that's clogging up the communication lines. But when you, in your experience, It might seem like that the presence of God has nothing to do with you, as if you're two separate things. But when you open your consciousness to connecting, to contemplating this truth, acknowledging that God is all around, in and through and as you, then you'll begin to feel as if God, the lover of your soul, is knocking on the door of your heart, just wanting to connect with you and to transform you, bringing this image and likeness from the inside out. You know what that's called? It's called prayer. The word prayer comes from the Sanskrit word palal, which means judging oneself as wondrously made. And when we come to the consciousness of our oneness with God, then we begin to realize that we are the sacred place of the Most High. So all of these error thoughts and these baseless beliefs have to be asked to leave, so that we can love God with all our hearts, all of our souls, all of our minds, with the totality of our being. An affirmative prayer sets in motion a process of healing these false beliefs and these baseless beliefs and error thoughts that have kept you from realizing your divine potential. It's interesting, this last week, that the Unity World Day of Prayer, the affirmation was about divine potential. It's, as I discover the power within, I unleash my divine potential. I want to talk to you just for a moment about your divine potential. What about your divine potential? What would it mean for you and for your life if you knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that God lives in you as you? How would your life be if you began to every moment live from your divine potential in every area of your life? If you began to live from your divine potential in the area of health and vitality, if you began to live from the place of divine potential in compassion and generosity and unconditional love, if you began to live from your divine potential in the area of abundance and expression, and what do you think the world would look like if everyone realized the power within and began to unleash their divine potential? When you realize your oneness with God, you connect with the truth of your being, and you begin to realize that the universe isn't just a co-creative force. The universe, God, is your strongest ally. Spirit's will for you, if you want to talk like that, Spirit's desire for you is that you live a life of wholeness, fullness, goodness, abundance, vitality, freedom, creativity, all that God is. Are you ready to make that connection this morning? Are you ready to unleash your divine potential? Let's say this affirmation together. As I discover the power within, I unleash my divine potential. May it be so, and so it is. Let's just spend a few minutes in the silence just contemplating these questions that I've asked. What would it mean for you and for your life if you really internalize the truth that God lives in you as you? What would it mean for your life if you realized that there is no power in fear? There is no power in any form of hate or frustration. There is no power in worry or doubt. And what if you brought all that power, gave all that power to the one presence, God the Good? How would your life be if you were hopelessly devoted to loving God with all your heart, all your mind, all your soul? You can probably feel the power just welling up within you, even as we think of these things. How would your life be if you began to live from your divine potential in every area of your life? So we allow these thoughts and feelings, these higher, more expansive thoughts and feelings to go out from us. We know that they are power, and we know that they are creative. We know that they go before us, creating our experience, even in the next few minutes, and in this day, and in the upcoming week. And we give thanks for this truth. And we let it be so, and so it is. Amen. Okay, I'm going to turn the lights on here.